Alright, time to get back to the base after a successful day, I guess.
I just want to take a shower.
And as
Okay,
soon as
so
we climb up, we're confronted by the enemy.
Shit! It's move!
I wish it was that, Libs. They already have been here.
look at what they have done.
They're here.
Again,
talking
Oh
about
my god, they
now.
strung up the guy on the swing sets. The death of innocence.
Yeah.
The death of innocence, I tell you.
Actually, no, remember, that was actually the leader of resistance. Again, it's similar to the mass grave moment. This has never showcased the brutality that the North Koreans are putting.
Oh, I get that
Yeah,
too.
they're trying-
Oh, I get that too. I was just doing the whole death of innocence thing because, look, they strung him up on a swing set. That's usually meant for kids to play on, not
But
for
yeah, that
bodies
means
to
that our
hang from.
protagonists and these three are the only survivors of this entire group.
Oh,
and
boy.
we won't be for long if we keep staying here. Which means that Connor is the leader now of the de facto resistance. Which,
Wait.
if you factor the Klingon promotion, Jova, if you factor in the fact that he's kind of a hothead, you can kind of guess things are about to get rough.
Let me guess.
Moving.
He's a terrible leader. We don't like that, so eventually we step up to be the
Yet
leader.
remember, Jova, from the previous parts, our protagonist kind of doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it feels like they're trying to have something equivalent to that scene from Full Metal Jacket during the second half of the movie, but
We did not get to know these people nearly
You can
enough.
you can
not
kind of
really.
tell that the story was supposed to probably have more, but they did not put that much into it. And again, it was just tacked on onto the
Again.
multiplayer.
I hate to say it, but for as much as I clown on the Call of Duty series, especially now, for the most part, their story campaigns were solid, from what I recall.
I can tell you this again. Unfortunate implications of recent events aside, because again, one of the recent titles that Kevin Spacey is your main supporting character. They were harmless, just very traditional war movies. If I recall correctly, stuff like Modern Warfare 4, I forgot if that was the title proper, is regarded well, particularly for one scene that depicts your character that you're playing, one of the characters you're playing dying because if they're sent with your team on a suicide mission that ends up with a nuclear, fallout that invests the player, and you get to see that firsthand. So I get what they were going for on that, but again, otherwise it's nothing foolish experience. Again, it's also the reason why games like Spec Ops: The Line instead managed to be that effective, because they really deconstructed that kind of storytelling.
Again, here's my thing. When you're making Call of Duty stories look ultra refined by comparison, there is a bit of a problem here. And I get it.
It's,
games like these may not always have the biggest focus on story, but again, I would argue Call of Duty, more so back in the day, but even still, for the most part, when it comes to their story campaigns, there's at least some semblance of, oh, we want to do more than just having a soundless character going from location to location.
And I can tell you that
Also-
this is just enjoyable. Nothing really that that is completely bad to me, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
But,
I mean,
go
this,
on,
the
Pedro.
gameplay looks like it's
Yeah.
perfectly solid, I guess. It's
Oh, no,
just
no,
that
no.
there's nothing here that you can get from better FPSs.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much,
true.
pretty much that's it. Like, no, the gameplay seems perfectly fine. The problem is, like, well, first-person shooters that nail their gameplay were kind of a dime a dozen. Now, that's not... Okay, now, this is not to mitigate or deride, the work put into these kinds of games, but let's be honest. Unless there was something to mix things up, if you played a first-person shooter, you played most of them. That's part of why the Call of Duty games eventually became a meme, because of their lack of refining or mixing up the formula overall.
This is why something like Resistance slightly baffles me, because it feels so out of the comfort zone of Insomniac, and I cannot, for the life of me, understanding what they did, because it lacks their signature, sense of humor. The weapon design is limited. You can tell that they try to inject some of their the creativity that they put for Ratchet and Clank into the weapon design, because being an alien invasion, you do get it. And while, trying to spice things up by being an alien invasion instead of a traditional human versus human conflict, it still feels by the book at best. Only the third game I argue as probably the best, probably the most coherent thought of the bunch.
Do I dare theorize that they were supposedly trying to challenge themselves or something? Because otherwise,
I want to
really
reserve any
weird.
detailed talk on that when we actually commentate the game. I plan on recording that.
Well,
So,
it's,
go on, Pedro.
just think of the Resistance games as a part of their time. At the time, like, it's like Golden Bolt has said various times in his videos, like, you have to adapt or die, basically. And it's one of those
But
things where
that's
it's
the
just
thing.
like,
At the same time, Insomniac, despite skipping 1 year of the launch of the PS3, they did eventually actually had the to decide to literally pick up their own bootstraps and still keeping on with Ratchet and Clank anyway. Honestly, and they did not do a bad job either on that front.
which is interesting because the director of Resistance 3 also went on to direct Sunset Overdrive and Rift Apart.
And Rift Apart,
So-
although he did not add TJ Fixman as the writer because of the movie.
Well, TJ, that's the thing though. TJ Fixman wasn't even in Insomniac by the time the movie came out.
Well, no, he was supposed to actually write the movie script, but because
he wrote
of
the
the
original script. The problem is that the director, aka the guy who directed
Yeah, I
the
was about to
2007
mention.
TMNT movie, thought that he could come up with a better script. Spoilers, he didn't.
No. And I don't know, and that's the thing that baffles me the most because it's literally should be the adaptation of the first game. You literally have everything set on a silver panel.
You know what's interesting about that movie?
Add the screen 1 or 2 things at tops if you really want to be that pedantic, but otherwise you have literally the work cut out for you.
And
know what's
yet
interesting about-
somehow they managed to muck it up royally by
You know-
character assassinating characters and introducing plot points that went nowhere. That's not even to mention how they butchered the script of the original game.
You know what's interesting about that movie? I was watching it with Edge. I think like was it last or maybe early this year. I forgot. the
Yeah,
exact
it was
time.
this year.
This year, if I recall from when he posted his review of it on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah. Out of nowhere, I suddenly pointed what is, in my opinion, the worst problem with that movie, which is the fact that Ratchet and Clank barely interact with each other throughout the whole movie, and it was like a fucking revelation to Deji because Deji never noticed that.
I wonder if the movie was trying to do one of those typical, hey, we gotta work up to how these guys are in the game here and there.
But that's
Like,
the thing, Jova. The
The
first
movie's
game
called
did-
Ratchet and Clank,
Not just
and
that,
Ratchet and
Pedro.
Clank barely talk to each other.
As some call me Johnny pointed out in his very review, the first game is entirely about that, about how do we get to these two big characters becoming friends.
wait.
Like,
Yeah.
Some Call Me Johnny did a review of the movie.
the first game,
The
Jova.
first game.
Oh, I get that.
He's
I was
going
just-
for the series right now, so.
I wonder if he will look at the movie since the movie is technically
Well, it's way
heavily
later down the
tied
line
in.
in the venture, but for the time being, he's
I wouldn't be
stopping at
surprised.
Deadlock to / Gladiator.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things go.
I'll say this.
which is going back to.
I might be in the minority, but Up Your Arsenal is still my favorite of the series.
Hold this.
I actually do okay, let me put it this way. When it comes to the actual story, like the themes and everything, maybe I guess I can still pick a crack in time. But when it comes to gameplay and overall character writing, I will definitely still pick Rift Apart as my new favorite when it comes to that.
I mean, it's a no-brainer
Uprising
because... Sorry, go on.
is as my favorite gameplay of the original PS2 games, but I'm still kind of a sucker for the story of the first game. Personally.
And it's a no-brainer considering Insomniac manages to evolve with each game when it comes to on the gameplay department, by making each game better than the predecessor on the gameplay department. But anyway,
Especially because
the point is, let me mention this.
Sorry. Go on.
Now we're seeing stuff that's happening technically off screen. The North Koreans are bombing part of Montrose as retaliation for what the resistance did with the Night Phosphorus. So the only solution is to use the drone, I forgot already what it's called, in order to actually break out of the city and actually find ourselves the oil trucks in order to actually take control of them and leading them to the U.S. Army and decide to do what to do there.
So if I recall correctly, Tio, from what you've told me, despite the premise of the story of this game, it doesn't really factor much into the multiplayer, does it?
No, the multiplayer is just you deciding what to do. But although, as Angry Joe noticed, missed opportunity, we do not get a map that is based on the the line that divides North and South Korea, which would have been a no-brainer on that front.
I
on
know,
Yeah.
right?
See, the
But,
thing,
continue, Pedro.
the thing is, after platinuming Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, like, I cannot go back to a Ratchet & Clank without the new circle button dodge maneuver that they added for that, because that maneuver is just so good for using in combat that I just like. It's so good. Oh,
I
sorry.
thought you were I thought you were going to say instead about the weapons, like the pixelator.
Oh no, there's all great weapons like the pixel and everything. That's obvious. Like what I mean is that like when I'm the actual movement of Ratchet specifically, you know, like because like one of the things that the reason I'm okay with Rift Apart changing the shooting controls to be more on the shoulder buttons is because the circle button has the new move, and it's so good and it makes combat so cool and fast-paced by comparison to previous games that it's just like one of those games where it's just like hard for me to go back to a game that doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Because it's so good. But going back to the topic of this game when it comes to the story stuff that Joe was talking about, like right now I'm playing through the first Halo game, Combat Involved, and while I do think that game definitely shows its age, it definitely showcases a better sense of you know,
More
progression and
world
overall.
building and progression.
That's
Well,
because
okay, well, here's the thing about Combat Evolved. I'm guessing this is probably because of early installment weirdness, because the first game, the story is very basic, and most of the lore is told to you via the terminal videos.
Oh yeah,
that's a staple of
definitely an
Bungie.
early thing.
No, it's a kind of a staple of Bungie. If you follow Mandalore Gaming, he has been essentially digging. He's actually currently digging through the old catalog of Bungie, the stuff that he did before Halo. What they specialized with were games for Mac, and they had a Doom clone series that was which is called Marathon, and a dungeon crawler still with some perversion element called Path of Darkness. And both of them do exactly what you said. The Marathon series has a great story, but it's all conveyed to you through the terminals.
Anyway, to answer your question further, to answer your question, Pedro, yes, later Halo games do give more story. However, they still do keep, you know, all that. They do keep all that lore that you can get from reading stuff here and there. But no, I mean, well, the actual stories in game do get fleshed out more.
One thing that I do like about the Master Chief Collection is that you can go onto the extras menu and look at all the terminals, and as a result, if you miss any terminals, you can just go to the extras menu and watch any of the ones that you've missed, so you don't have to go back and try to find it. So I do like that.
Definitely. How are you? So how are you liking the Halo experience so far?
Well, Combat Evolved is, of course, a very basic FPS, but again, came out in 2001, so that's fair.
Yeah.
It definitely shows its age. It's very basic, and the storytelling is very basic. But again, this was Bungie's first major, not first FPS, but like this was the first of the series, so of course it's going to be a basic game. That's fine.
I particularly do love the feature of literally being able to swap from the classic look to the newer look on the fly. With
Yeah, that's the thing with Halo Anniversary. That's because the versions of Halo 1 and 2 that's on the Master Chief Collection are the anniversary remakes that 343 made back in 2008.
Whoa, FBI, open up! Again, just like in Singularity, we have a scene like this. I guess people were excited by John Woo movies.
I will, however, say that even already by Halo 1, I'm already seeing exactly why people hate Halo 5 already.
Yeah.
I can tell. One thing that I can tell this. Sorry, go on.
To give you an idea, Master Chief has a kind of a sidekick type character called Cortana. Basically, she's an AI that helps him and contacts people and all that shit.
You may remember
And she's
Microsoft...
supposed to be your friend. Yeah. Microsoft made a Windows program called Cortana as an homage to her. I know. Here's the thing, Glibs. You know what they do to that beloved fan favorite character in Halo 5? They turn her evil for no reason. And the fans didn't like that.
I guess it's still a better thing than what happened with the TV series.
Oh god! You know. That's the amazing thing about that TV series. We Halo fans thought, you know what? At least it can't get worse than Halo 5. And for the most part, we were right because Infinite was fine.
Well, I mean, at least 343 can at least say, wow, Wow, we no longer have made what is considered the worst Halo thing ever.
That is simultaneously bizarre and sad at the same time.
That's the thing, is according to the credits, they had it was a collaboration between the studio and 343. So 343 is credited as creative consultants and everything. So
Well, that's the thing, though. In the words of the series of Fortunate Events Netflix series, who listens to consultants?
Ovo.
I guess.
Okay. On the one hand, Dwibs does have a point. Like, we've seen cases where, Hanna-Barbera were supposedly consultants for the Tom and Jerry movie back when
Joe specifically, because William was already there by that point.
Joe, so to be fair, he's not entirely wrong. That being said, this is a case where I could see them taking advice from 343 because, let's be honest, while Halo Infinite was an improvement, 343 have not exactly been doing the series any favors to the point where I could see them still earning some of the blame as consultants for.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing about, and I've already watched plenty of stuff about it to know this. The thing about Halo Infinite is that the only real major, I guess, achievement they did with that one was that the campaign is competent. It's not an embarrassment, which congratulations, I guess.
And hey, they brought Cortana back all proper. That was nice of them.
That's the thing, Jova. Actually, Jova, that one is not the OG Cortana. It's a different... go on.
Oh, I know. It's just I guess that was their way of going, hey, look, Cortana's back. Sure, it's not the same Cortana, because, of what happens in Halo 5, but...
That's the thing, Jova. Halo Infinite goes out of its way to basically take a big dump on Halo 5 to see if it can... You can tell Halo 3 was just trying their best to just please the fans. See, Locke was killed off screen. You hated Locke, so that's good, right? Oh, and all the stuff from... And all the Blue Squad from Halo 5, yeah, they're gone too. See? They basically did a whole thing where they basically destroy everything from Halo 5 in an attempt to make you go, oh, see, we destroyed everything from Halo 5, and you hated that game, so this is good, right?
Right? As weird as it sounds, Lockstep frustrates me. Do not get me wrong. Locke felt like one of those many awkward attempts that Capcom did when trying to replace one of their old protagonists with a new one and all that. That was a surprisingly common thing with a lot of Capcom games. However, just having him die off screen kind of feels a bit like... The parallels with Gears are amazing. We start...
There you go. Now we have to destroy the Goliath in order to open the path.
Let me put it like this. Imagine if, per se, they decide to kill off, I think Laura was her name? God, what's Laura Bailey's character's name again? I can't remember. Kate. Imagine if, per se, they just kill off Kate in the next Gears game. Okay, that doesn't really necessarily undo the damage that she did to the franchise. Wouldn't a better thing to do be, to make her a better character while also redeeming the characters that you kind of ruined in the process?
Alright, Hopper, get us out of here. More of them on the other side. We're going straight through. Jacob, clear me a path. Survivalist farm and get that helicopter. It's the only way we'll catch those tankers.
The Resistance has attempted to contact cells beyond the Montrose area. It's hard to determine what's happening outside the wall, but our KPA sources report that several patrols have gone missing. And the ones that survived have nothing but horror stories. After the EMP went off, and the electronic grid that sustained us broke apart, the nation fell into a kind of a madness.
It's fine, Lore.
People turned on each other.
Actually, Joey, just summing up what happened.
Well, I'm trying to give him credit for it as Lore. It's just, I don't know. It's...
No, it's not. It's on telling something that we don't know.
Okay, so it's a recap.
And a fair number outright insane.
I don't know. It feels like they're trying to pump it off as lore, because otherwise, I guess it just feels
It's more
weird.
of a it's more of a summation of what's happening and a small foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah, my name's
Mhm.
my name's Sean Connor. If you can hear this, you're the resistance.
But anyway.
Yeah.
In the next part is gonna be a fun one because as
Oh.
Connor mentioned, we have escaped the city. Yeah, rolling around the speed of North Korea. And we have to take refuge for the time being in context that we had in the Utah fields. And next time we're gonna have something else that it will stress the fact that this game was actually released around the early 2010s and not in the middle. But you'll be able to see for yourself. See ya.
Sounds
Yeah.
like fun.
Yeah.